Hi everybody, this is my second in a series of videos regarding the progress on Hydroponic Garden version 2.0. Today we're going to start with the simplicity of how everything has been growing, just to give you an update on how everything has been. The first video I was surprised to have as many hits as I did. Thank you all for looking, and I hope you enjoy this one as well. The cucumber plant has had a little bit of a surprise to it, in that we have gone through the first set of leaves already, and we are now going into the second set, and although my camera doesn't get extreme detail, there actually is a bud forming at the base of the plant, which is kind of nice. Cilantro has not done as well as I thought it would, but again, as I said before, I have never been able to grow cilantro. I'm not sure exactly what it is about the nutrient formula that is so different from parsley that cilantro just does not grow here. Parsley, from the previous video, parsley has just gone crazy, and I'm very glad that it has, because I use a lot of parsley in cooking, and I really love fresh parsley. Oregano is kind of a slow grower, so there's not too much of a difference, but the quantity and the value of the quantity and the quality of the plants themselves have really started to perk up. Clearly there's a couple of dominant plants and a bunch of subordinate plants, and the dominants are clearly making their way to getting better watering and growing and so forth. The thyme plant, really can't complain about that at all. I take cuttings off of that almost every day. I do a lot of cooking with thyme, so this one really has bushed out really well, and I think if I can get in there close enough, you can see that almost all of the tips are growing fresh growth, so I chop off this one pretty regularly. The basil plant, I had to cut a couple of stems off because it started getting a little woody, and as you can see there in that shot, and you can see in this shot, I'm trying to get the plant to grow a little bit bushier, so I'm starting to cut the stems off where they would start to normally just continue to grow long and tall, and I don't want that, so I am going to work on getting that one to be a little bit bushier. The spearmint plant here, whereas you couldn't really see the spearmint before, spearmint's really starting to come up pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's a slow grower again, and it's not really too big of a deal, but spearmint in itself is a pretty robust plant once it gets started. Sage, can't complain about the sage. Sage has just gone nuts. I'm going to have to start literally cutting some of these leaves off and doing a blanch and try to store them, because this thing is just growing like crazy, and I'm very glad that it has. Pineapple mint, you can see that the difference between the leaves from the other video and the leaves from this video is very clear. This thing is just really taken to the hydroponic garden well, and it is really growing really well. The leaves are fresh and fragrant. I'm crushing them into tea or crushing them into ice cream. Really just a fantastic sweet peppermint flavor. I mean, just really good. The oregano plant, oregano has clearly taken a liking to the way that we're doing the hydroponic gardens, because I mean, this thing was a little bit skinny and a little bit thin previously, and it has just really gotten a whole bunch of new leaves. The stems are all brightly colored. The new shoots are coming out pretty regularly, so I'm going to have a lot of oregano. The second set of basil plants, you can see that there is a master plant already forming, and that there are a couple of little green stems in the bottom there. I had to dump a few extra seeds in there because I wasn't quite sure that the seeds were equally distributed as I would like. But again, I use a lot of basil, so in my mind, you really can't have enough basil. The rosemary plant is absolutely positively growing crazy. I have taken already about 4 ounces worth of cuttings off of this plant alone, and it just continues to propagate very well. I'm very pleased with it, so it is really coming along pretty well. I also took a small cutting off one of the basil plants, as I said earlier, and I made this little rooting chamber out of just some extra PVC and just taped it onto the side of my enclosure. So far it's been about 4 days, and basil, if you know anything about basil, basil will generate roots in almost any circumstance. There's really nothing terrible about it, so more details on that as we move forward. And then the Hawaiian Thai plant. In the other video, this broadleaf that you see now, that was actually all wrapped up. This smaller stem is a new stem, a new flower stem that is coming out, or excuse me, a new leaf stem that's coming out. This thing, now that it has been saturated with hydroponic runoff, I can already see the difference in the color of the leaves. I can see the difference in the texture of the leaves. It really is taking, really going to come back. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention in the other video was that this was a very, very, very lush, very well-leaved plant, and I brought it down here to Chicago, and it just really lost all of its leaves. I put it out in the sun, and it just literally burned. I felt so bad for it. I thought I was going to lose it, but I have it inside now. It's winter here in Chicago, and it really is doing very, very well. I think by spring I should be able to bring it back upstairs without any problem and put it in another south-facing window without too much trouble. The other thing that I've done so far is I've gotten a new set of growing ready for spring. In this particular growing, I'm using peat moss pots, which are fairly cheap, and they do a great job at being a rooting medium for larger plants. Now, the things that I'm growing in this particular starter germinate, I'm trying to germinate, are 4 antique strawberry plants, 2 ground cherries, 2 raspberries, and 2 blackberries. So all of those are going to be definitely spring flowers and spring plants for when Hydroponic Garden version 4 comes along. And that will be a larger scale multi-pot where I intend on growing honeydew and cantaloupe and watermelon, etc. But at this particular point, everything seems to be going well. Again, not a big difference in the temperature, the ambient temperature of the air around the light apparatus, and certainly not a big difference in temperature from the water temperature in the reservoir. So what I'm finding is that generally about 70-something degrees, the plants grow very, very well, and the ambient temperature of the water reservoir being around 65, that's certainly groundwater temperature anyway, so that seems to be working very, very well. I have also discovered that I have a resident that I did not notice before. And I have a wasp. Somehow he got into the house. It's mid-November here, so the temperatures outside normally would be fairly cold, but it's not. And I don't know, not sure exactly how a wasp got into the house, but so far he has not left the garden once. And I did have a ladybug that found her way in here as well. I'm not sure how, but the two of them wrangled, and he ended up eating her pretty well. So I'm going to let him just stick around for a little while and see what happens. I'm hoping not to have to shoo off a wasp's nest, but that's okay. In any case, that is an update on Hydroponic Garden version 3.0, and for all of you that watched the video, I hope you enjoyed this one. Please leave me your comments.